4 of Hanging Left. My name is Matt Connarton, and my partner in crime in this endeavor, Todd Ayer, is with us. Hello, Todd.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Good. How's it hanging?
It's hanging left as usual, only way to hang.
That's good. Consistency is good,
Yep,
especially in the hanging.
exactly.
I don't know where I'm going with that, but
Yeah, I don't know either. Are we back in the days of Mike Pence?
oh my goodness, yes, they did want to hang Mike Pence on January 6th, but
Yeah,
that's okay.
that's okay too. I mean, I,
I
I
mean,
don't think I would have protested too much.
well, I don't mean it's okay that they wanted to hang him.
No,
It's apparently okay with him. I mean, he got over it pretty quickly once it
yeah,
became
I mean, I,
apparent that Trump
I
was going to be
usually,
the nominee.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I always get over death threats really fast. I mean,
Yes,
that's my,
yes.
my, you know, go ahead, threaten my life. I don't care.
They had a gallows. They were chanting "Hang Mike Pence," but a party before personal safety of self and family, I guess. I'm going to move this microphone over a little bit. I've been playing with different microphone settings. We should tell people that we should explain. So we are doing this. We're doing a live stream. Obviously, most people will listen to the podcast version after the fact, but we are doing a spontaneous live stream on Thursday. It's a little bit after 7 p.m. in the Eastern time zone here. And we are doing this because, well, for one thing, we're not on any kind of a set schedule. And that's one of the nice things about doing a show like this, especially a lot of political streamers, a lot of very successful ones, kind of go with the it's on when it's on type of format. And you just got to kind of keep an eye on social media. And so if you happen to catch it when it's live, you do. And if not, you can listen to the podcast later. But, so we're not on a set schedule. And I like the spontaneity of that personally. But also, do you want to talk about what you've got going on this weekend?
Yeah, if you're in the Providence area, stop by. I don't. I guess I should find out the exact address since I'm the one managing it. But yeah, stop by the Providence Pride event. We're going to be doing all kinds of stuff to celebrate Pride in Providence, Rhode Island. So love to see you. I'm actually actually my title as of yesterday changed. So now I'm the one of the co-chairs, myself and one other person. We pretty much run the political action and like communications for the political communications. Sorry. Yep. Okay. So anything political. So protesting, all that jazz for the Human Rights Campaign.
Excellent. Excellent. And you're going to be, so that's, is that just Saturday, Sunday, or is it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or what?
Not Friday.
Okay.
I believe it is Saturday, but it's all day Saturday. Like their Pride Parade actually is in the evening.
Okay.
Yeah, they have almost like a light parade.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they even do something like where the water that runs underneath and kind of by Brown and all that. I think they even do something where they light it up or whatever.
Oh, no kidding. Interesting. Yeah. Providence is a great city. I haven't been there in a long time, but great music scene there. A lot of very good bands in that area, and
great queer scene too.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and you'll be, I assume, over the weekend, you'll be posting on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very good. Very good. So we were kind of talking offline about what to talk about tonight. And it does seem that a very pressing issue right now is, of course, the potential involvement of the United States in the war between Israel and Iran. And I guess we are officially calling it a war. The media seems to be. That's always a little tricky, though. When do you call something a war?
Well, so theoretically, a war is not until Congress through an act of Congress. It has to be declared officially a war. There's actually a process, a bureaucratic process. But as we can see, this man is in love with himself, i.e. the Mad King, i.e. Trump. And shockingly, he doesn't seem to be going with the regular process. That's also, I'm sure we're all shocked out there.
That's not unique to him, though.
No, I'm being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. Because, well, I was going to say, because, we haven't declared war the right way, quote unquote, via Congress since World War II, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
Oh, going all.
I did not
yeah,
know
yeah.
that. Okay.
Vietnam. That's why in some.
They like to call it conflicts, though. Usually.
Yeah, that's why in some instances there's still people today who refer to Vietnam, even though it's generally accepted as the Vietnam War. There are still people today who refer to it as the Vietnam conflict. North Korea, I don't believe we ever declared war. I think World War II is the last time we actually declared war. So that part of it to me, when there's all this hand wringing about, well, does Trump have the authority to take us to war? Well, every president takes us to war in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Regardless of what Congress says or doesn't say about it. So I won't hold that part against him if we do get involved. I will. There are other things that I'll have criticisms about regarding this, but
well, Matt, you're nice. Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say you're nicer than me because I pretty much hold everything and anything against him. Anything I have, I feel like if I stub my toe, it's his fault.
Sure. Kind of like the Republicans when during Obama. Remember when thanks Obama, when that became a meme.
Or now it's Biden. Now Biden is still at fault, still causing lots of trouble to the Republicans.
That's right. Oh, by the way, hello to our friend Brian Mackey, who joins us in the
hey Brian, what's up?
In the chat room. He says Trump doesn't care about process. Given the number of executive orders which we discussed last week, I think that's largely true. But we're in a very interesting moment. I did post something about this on the Matt Connarton Unleashed page, because even though we took the politics out of my radio show, I do occasionally do, separate, I call it MCU AF, Matt Connarton Unleashed AF, when it's strictly an online version. And so I do those once in a while, and I still post about political things on the Unleashed page. And I made a comment that I'm not saying that we should strike Iran. I'm deeply apprehensive about it, and we can get into that. I'm very curious to know what you think about all of it. But I said I'm deeply apprehensive about it, so I'm not advocating for it. But if we are going to do it, now is the moment. I do believe that now is the moment. It's now we should do it. Either if we're going to do it ever, we should do it now.
I mean, typically when your enemy is, or if they are our enemy, but whoever your adversary basically is in a situation where, you've already depleted their air defense, and you've taken out not all, but a good portion of their proxies, and you've taken out a lot of their military leadership, then I mean, if your goal is absolute destruction, then I would say, the iron is hot.
And I would say, to your point, Israel has done better. They have overperformed. Maybe it shouldn't be a complete surprise, because what was it? 1982? Was it 82 when they sent some pilots in to take out a nuclear reactor? That's how long this has been going on. How many decades? I believe it was 1982.
These guys just if someone said to me, it's really just a matter of another forever war. I mean, and also, is Israel actually, I kind of feel like in some ways they set this up. Like, even the whole comment that Netanyahu made, like, this is all on us. It's our decision. As if, like, if we wanted to, we could 100% walk away and do nothing. Like, you and I know that's never going to happen. Like, Israel's our allies. We've committed to that. And furthermore, unfortunately, because of the way that we are involved in the Middle East, we've kind of painted a target on ourselves. Anytime Israel attacks at this level, everyone that's our adversaries in the Middle East, which they really truly are for the most part, not Israel, but the other countries, they're going to assume that at least it's our weapons, and it's most certainly our intelligence that's helping them and all of that. So, I don't know. It's like you were saying, this is not like, yes, I think that if we're going to do it, now would be the time, of course. And yes, I'm apprehensive about it, but I'm also realistic about it. Like, I don't know if, like, we've already been pronounced guilty by Iran and by all their proxies. And P.S., we were already attacking the Houthis anyway. So, it's not like we're innocent. I don't know. Honestly, at the end of the day, Matt, what you and I think isn't going to matter anyway. They're going to do what they want to do. Like, and, Israel is one of those things that they all like to join hands and sing Kumbaya across the aisle, like, both both the Democrats and the Republicans. Who's going to say no? Let's not do it.
Well, I think a lot of people are saying let's not do it, but I mean, I think so. I mean, that's my perception. I think a lot of people are worried. One of the problems is if we
I'm talking about in politics. I'm talking about the political leaders. Like who in power right now? I don't know.
I feel like, well, we should actually, that's a good bridge to get into this other part. And I alluded to it not alluded, I referred to it directly, actually, in a text message to you when I said that one of the things that's so interesting about this is that Trump's own coalition seems to be at odds.
For sure.
But they're at odds. They're at odds with each other, though, just to be clear. They're not at odds with Trump, because it's impossible for them to ever be disappointed with Trump himself, because they'll find a way to, Trump was misled. Trump got bad advice. That's what they do when Trump does something they don't like.
Well, actually, right now, it's sort of like between the old school. Well, if there's not really any old school, but like the residual leftover of the war hawks, like the Lindsey Grahams of the world and all of that.
Yeah.
And
the neocons.
The neocons, exactly. And the isolationists, they're the ones actually that are very disappointed, because in their ideal world, they feel like Trump is kind of being a bit of a traitorous towards them, because they don't want to go to any wars, because they only want to focus on the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
They want to put all their effort in destroying this country before they before they get into destroying others. One thing at a time. Let's wreck the United States first.
Brian says no one wants full-scale war for Trump's entertainment.
Yeah.
But I would say, though, I would make a distinction between, because we talk about full-scale war, but I don't think the United States getting involved in striking means full-scale war. I think that just means,
I mean, in our mind, but think of it, to play devil's advocate, what do you think would happen if an adversary chose to have a military conflict in one of our states and chose to fly planes and bomb just one state? Let me tell you, we would declare war on that country. We would not consider that just a little, slap on the wrist.
Right. But I don't know. I mean, if we strike Iran, I don't think that, because some people will say, well, see, this is what's interesting.
This is actually, and I have something to say about that too when you go, but go ahead, you go first.
Well, some people would say that this would lead to World War III if we get involved, and I disagree.
Great segue.
My fear, and part of what has always made me apprehensive and opposed to striking at Iran, there's a few reasons, but one of them is we can't risk getting into World War III. But at this moment, I don't think the Russians get involved.
No, Russia doesn't want to get involved.
Right.
And
I don't think China
doesn't want to get
either.
involved.
Yeah.
There's a lot of saber rattling with the superpowers, but ultimately they know that, that would be World War III. Like, nobody really wants World War III.
Well, also
Putin's not in a good position for World War III either, because he's depleted his military so horribly fighting Ukraine. And P.S., he can't seem to conquer them. So if he can't conquer a small country like Ukraine, what makes you think this guy's ready to launch a world war?
Yeah, he's not. And that goes to why I think now is the moment. If we are going to do it, I don't think we should. But if we do, now is the moment, because, Putin's distracted. He doesn't want anything to do with this. And he's chummy enough with Trump. He doesn't want to do anything that's going to make Trump look bad necessarily.
Yeah.
So I think, the other big problem I'll just mention, though, is I can't remember the name of it now. The name escapes me, but there's that one underground bunker.
Yes. I know what you're talking about.
It's like a superstructure where they have, I guess that's sort of Iran's ultimate enrichment facility.
Right.
And we probably can't get to that with a strike. And if we can't get to that, but we do get involved and hit them in other ways, does that not hasten them building an actual nuclear arsenal? Because,
and you're actually reading my mind right there. So it's like, go big or go home. But actually, the thing is, with our bunker busters, we can get to that. So, we just have to decide if we're going to fly our, I don't know what it is at this point, but like our, what is it, like B-3 bombers, B-1 bomb, whatever our big bombers are over there, and just, we can get to it. That's not the issue. The issue is, that's a point of no return.
Right. Because if we can get to it, what if we can, but we don't? In other words, what if we try and we fail? Then, I mean, we've crossed a Rubicon at that point.
I mean, I think we're not going to fail. I think we're going to go, if we go in, it'll just be like total annihilation, to be honest. I mean, look at what we did to Iraq. We just like, I mean,
yeah, but we're not, sure. But we're not going to invade. We're not going to invade.
No, I understand, but like,
it
doesn't take a lot. I mean, our Air Force is, I think, the most powerful in the world. So,
oh, absolutely.
We can, I mean, it doesn't take us a lot. I mean, our, like, one of our, you know, air battalions or whatever they call them, you know, is probably like the size of some people's entire, maybe not quite, but, you know, some people's entire Air Force. Like, you know, we, you know, ironically, I'm sure you're shocked, we hold a lot of the weapons we don't want other people to have. I'm sure that's just, you know, I'm sure there's no real reason for that. I mean, you know.
Which I'm actually okay with.
Yeah, me too, because I until Trump, I did think that at the very minimum, every president of the United States was responsible enough that they didn't want to launch a world war.
Well, I don't think Trump wants to either, though. This will sound like a very... Oh, go ahead, Todd.
Well, what I'm saying is, so Trump is so naive, though, he could do it without thinking. Like, that's his problem. Like, the guy just doesn't think. So, like, you know, like he hands somebody a grenade and pulls the pin and says, just hold on to it for a while, and forgets to put the pin back. You know, this guy is not, he doesn't use common sense. Everything is emotional. And all it would take is like, you know, and as it is like his social media stuff, you don't threaten to kill a country's leader, like, and just posture. Like, who does that?
Yeah, no, I know. I agree with you. And he's very immature in that way. I will give him, I'm going to give him, believe it or not, as much as I loathe him, I will give him a little bit more credit than you are, though. I don't think he wants to. I think he's, I think he's, I don't want to say he's prudent, because he's not. I think he's reckless and dangerous.
Business focused. He's business focused. It's very difficult to do business with a Middle East that you've annihilated.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I'm glad you said that, because
don't go so well on like minefields, you know?
Right,
I mean,
right. Yeah. I don't think he sees any practical value in
right. And so that's his thing. I mean, a lot of it is, you know, it all comes down to Trump.
I mean, he is, you know, I'll give him a little bit of credit. He's not a neocon, because if he was,
no, he's not.
If he was, we'd already be in. Like, if Lindsey Graham were in charge, we'd already be in. You know, we'd already be blowing things up. So without any thought to the consequences, just kill. But I mean, I understand Lindsey Graham is owned by the defense contractors and the military industrial complex, but so are most of them. And some on both sides of the aisle, some on our side as well. So
right. Plus, someone out there probably has the secret videos of Lindsey Graham, if you know what I'm saying.
I think I do know what you're saying. Ooh, I don't want to think about it, though.
I know, right?
But
yummy. Not.
So let me ask you this, though. So what do you think?
To your point of what you were saying, I want to backpedal a little bit, not to jump, sorry about that. But okay. So first off, this is maybe the area at which I might lean a little bit less. Like, I'm pretty progressive, except when it comes to like the military. I'm not as like I'm not a war hawk, but I'm also not a pacifist. Same. And I don't feel like all war, without question, it never has a rational reason for it.
Right.
I mean, I
agree.
You know, especially in the state of especially if it means defending our sovereign state or like defending Americans, things of that nature. Now, the way I would wage war is very different than how it's typically waged, but nonetheless, I would rely heavily on intelligence teams and a lot of SEAL Team 6 kind of stuff. Like, I would really go in and take out leaders of my adversaries and that kind of thing. Use a lot of that, you know, assassin's tactics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, the Ayatollah wouldn't be alive anymore if I was the president already. Like, I would have taken him out, you know, pretty quickly. Sure. But so, because I do care about the innocents, you know, like, and it's not, and also, you know, here's the thing, and this is strategically why the war may not be a great idea either even from this standpoint, if typically country like Iran, a lot of people in Iran are very anti-Ayatollah.
Yes.
And they're kind of a quasi-democracy and trying to get themselves towards that direction. Even
Yes.
their current non-religious leader is a little bit more open to, like he loosened the hijabi rules and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's some things. I mean, he's still not, I wouldn't give him a great human rights scorecard.
No.
But I guess it's improving to some extent.
There are opportunities there.
Right. And the likelihood of it improving more is probably greater if we don't become their arch enemies, because then people tend to, I mean, if you think about it, if you remember 9/11, like I've never been pro-Republican, but like we all rallied around Bush because he, even the most left of us, I mean, you had to search far and wide to find somebody that was like, nope, we shouldn't go after those people.
Right.
So, and, my other thing is like, in my opinion, there's just a lot of bad actors, which is why I won't take a side. Like the very non-war people that I have heard, at least the way the movement is going so far initially, is that they're completely anti-war, which I respect. I mean, that's fine. That's your viewpoint, especially if it's like a moral view you have. That's fine. Yeah. But then they also go off in the litany of like, they almost like dismiss any of the blame from any of the Middle Eastern leaders, making them out to be like these like victims that are victims of imperialism and all of this. When I would argue that they're all evil. They're all just as bad. Like there's very few good actors right now in this whole entire thing, whether it's MAGA, and the Trump people, or Netanyahu, or the Supreme Leader, or the Houthis. I mean, who is good here? There's no one good.
Yeah. No, I agree. What do you think? Should we hit Iran or no, in your opinion?
I don't. Again, I don't know. I just. The other thing is, could this be another weapons of mass destruction? Because there is stuff out there saying like, they're not quite where we think they are, as far as, and they even claim that their nuclear enrichment is not for weaponry. So I don't know. I mean, do I really believe them? Not really. I tend to, I guess, in that way, go more with a Western viewpoint. I'm not a big cultural relativist when it comes to like, if it's the West versus the Middle East, I tend to go with the West usually.
Same. Yes.
And I know it's a bias, but this is where I live and this is my life. This is my, my values and my morals are Western. So, I'm going to obviously go with that type of, for me, that's what's right.
And we're just being honest about how we feel, because I point that out because, what we're saying, and you and I are in agreement here, and what we're saying, it actually flies in the face of how MAGA would paint people like us.
Right.
Because they look at us, I hear it all the time. I'm sure you do too. They look at us like we're these America hating people who just want to surrender.
Not at all. And here's the thing.
And it's not like that.
I'm very much a child of the Obama era. You know what I mean? Or like a young adult of the Obama era. So to me, it's like, and Brian says, how do you start a war without proof of your claim? Well, I think that in some ways you could argue, Brian, that the very fact that they choose to harbor terrorists, which choose to attack the United States and our proxies and all of that, alone would be justification for some level of military conflict. I mean, these are not good people.
That's a great point. The question that Brian raises is valid and very important.
Absolutely, it is.
But I also think your answer there is also a very important point to make. It's we talk about not wanting them to have a nuke, but there's other reasons to not want to tolerate what the Iranians do. So in theory, even if their claim, because the Iranians claim they're just enriching uranium for peaceful purposes, to fuel their.
I mean, I don't trust them, reactors. To be quite honest. I don't trust them.
No. And what they do, the other things that they do in the world certainly do warrant
right
hurting them and trying to get them in line. So
yeah, I mean, I think that unfortunately there are people out there that only I would say to some extent in a different way. And he wants to know, why didn't we do it 10 years ago? I don't know. Why didn't we?
Well, 10 years ago, we had the JCPOA, which was negotiated by the Obama administration. And then, of course, which I understand was not a perfect deal, but I thought it was better than no deal. And
we're not going to get perfect. I mean, I think that if they adhered to, here's the thing, though. If Trump had not pulled out of the, what was it? What was the
JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal?
Right. Yeah. Then I don't think we'd be in this situation. So
agreed. Yeah.
The way I look at it is this, I look at everything in a pragmatic way. It's not about whether or not I believe we should or shouldn't be at war or using any type of military, I don't know, aggression against Iran. It's that the United States has chosen to put themselves in a position where we have made ourselves enemies of these people. And so let's not pull any punches here. I mean, if anything, I would extend that enemy status further rather than diminish it. I mean, I would, and I don't know who this would be in line with, but like, I'm not a big fan of the Saudis, and I would not kowtow to the Saudis. I would, as a matter of fact, I'd probably make them kiss my ass, since I'm the one providing them with the military and things like that. It wouldn't be like, I've got oil, you can manipulate me. It'd be like, no, because I can take your oil if I want to. I'm not going to, but I could. And, and we're doing you a favor protecting you. So like, why am I kissing your butt? And furthermore, if the rule is, if we're going to judge it based on a Western definition of how we treat other human beings, none of them would pass the human rights, rating. They're all failing in that respect. Not to say right now the United States is doing a great job either, but prior to this, we were doing a pretty decent job, I would say. I mean, yeah, we made mistakes. I mean, certainly Abu Ghraib was an abominable embarrassment, but that was not sanctioned by everyone. You know what I mean? And when it was found out, should they have paid more? Consequences? Absolutely. But, you'll find most Americans didn't support that either. So, we don't have a jihadist mentality around here. So, I guess my feelings are with Iran, with a lot of the Iranian proxies, have we gotten to the point of no return? Meaning, like, yes, in theory, maybe we did turn them into terrorists, but that's what they are. So now we have to deal with them, not as we wish they were, but as they are.
Yeah. Ron Paul, I haven't read the book, but I know he has a book. I believe it's called Blowback about, about, perhaps you've read it. I don't know. I guess you're aware of it because you're nodding your head that, I think Jenny might have said she's read it, but yeah, talking about how, our Middle East policy creates more terrorists than it does, converts people to Western thinking.
It very well may, but like we're kind of caught in this very, yes, absolutely. I agree with you, Brian. Friends close, enemies closer. I'm not saying we should cut off ties. I'm just saying we should act more like a superpower if we're going to be a superpower.
Yeah.
But I bet you're shocked that a progressive said that.
Yeah, I know. We're not very good liberals, are we? We're
not in this case. No, I'm not. I would be probably accused of not being. As a matter of fact, I went to this I observed. I want that on the record.
Yeah.
I observed an anti-Iranian rally, and myself and my friend, we left halfway through because it was all a blame game, and it was all like, when they were waving the Russian flag, and it was too much. Like, I don't even know what that was about.
They were waving the Russian flag.
Well, symbolic, I guess, of like communism in Russia, I guess. Like, I don't know. The sickle, the sickle and the hammer. I don't know. But there was no way in hell I was getting my face caught on the news at some rally with a Russian flag waving.
Brian said, LOL, if you blow them up, that kind of cuts the ties. Yes.
Yes, it does. That is true, Brian.
And Trump, I guess he has set this, not that anything Trump says ever matters in terms of...
not in my world.
Right. I mean, he just, says whatever's convenient, but he did set kind of a 2-week deadline. He's going to decide within 2 weeks. The one thing that he could, there is one way though, that he can pull this out of the fire. Or if there's someone in his administration who's deft enough to do it, because God knows he's not, is if.
Well, it's not Tulsi Gabbard.
No,
I mean,
God.
or drunken Hegseth. I mean, I don't know. I hope they have like a secret weapon and a little break for emergency box that they have in these situations,
But what could be a foreign policy win is if Iran does come to the table and says, okay, like if we don't want the U.S. getting involved, but it doesn't sound like they're going to. I don't think they're going to. But if there's but maybe
they've already said that they've already said that basically, the supreme leader already pseudo declared a jihad in essence. He already said, even just discussing it has put us in their crosshairs.
Although the one thing I always keep in mind, though, too, when it comes to things like this is regardless of what is said publicly, because ultimately,
there is that, right?
Right. Because remember, I mean, it's back channel communications that got us out of getting into a nuclear war during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Thank God. I mean, neither of us were born yet. And I'm glad because I would not have wanted to live through that and how terrifying that would have been. But so we never know what's being, and this is something people should always keep in mind. And the Cuban Missile Crisis is a perfect example of this. Regardless of what's being said publicly, you can take a tiny bit of comfort in knowing there's always, well, maybe not always, but there's usually some sort of back channel communication that's going on or signaling or something. So not everything is always as dire as it seems.
Most people are not suicidal nihilists.
Right.
I mean, most people do not want, whatever you believe, if you annihilate the world, you have no world to rule. So it doesn't matter. You could be the most, totalitarian dictator that's ever walked the earth. But what good does it do you if you're, doing nothing but, lording over flat annihilated plains of nuclear waste? I mean, this is not realistic. and I would also argue that, and this would be this is why I don't believe in full nuclear, proliferation or reduction of our nuclear forces. I think that, in some ways we're not the best. I mean, we do misbehave, but I think that the very fact that even I would say probably argue Russia and China and the United States, the fact that the superpowers are all so nuclear, weaponized, like we have so much munition, I think it actually prevents wars because they're like, I think it prevents people from attacking us. I mean, they're like, we're setting the bar. It's like we have because we're basically the stewards of the nuclear conflict in essence. Like we're saying that like maybe it should never have happened, but it did. So, and we've proven it so far, right? Because certainly even Russia. The United States, Russia, and China, we right now have the capability of blowing up the world. That's not an argument.
Many times over.
Yeah. Right. And we haven't. We haven't even postured to do so. So not even Russia and China have postured to do so. So maybe nuclear weapons are in the right hands. If that makes any sense.
It does. I just worry about, I always worry about things going wrong though. But, I grew up with
yeah, but they exist. We can't.
Yeah, I mean, my dad. I know he watches the show. I think he watches our program with a lot of anger and frustration. But I know he watches it, so he'll know this.
Today he might not be afraid. Today he might be like, "Wow, what happened?"
Oh yeah, maybe. But he'll remember. Obviously, I grew up because we had conversations about this. I had conversations about this with both him and my mother about my fear. Obsession is probably too strong a word, but I definitely had an unhealthy preoccupation with the threat of nuclear war growing up. And now too, I like your optimism about all of that and everything. The one thing though that does trouble me is we've had some close calls, and there's been documentary. For example, there's a documentary. Oh, what the hell is it called? I can't remember what it's called now, but there was a documentary about an incident during the Reagan administration where the Russians were misunderstanding some of our war games. that were going on in Europe, and they thought that NATO was actually mobilizing, and they came severely close to launching something because they thought that we were about to attack when it was actually just war games, but they misunderstood. Something got crossed in the communication, and that was a close call. Or there was the time that I can't remember his name now too, but this guy saved the world. The time that there was a Russian officer in a missile silo in Russia, and
I do remember that.
Yeah, and we didn't know about this until years later. But he saw on his radar, it showed an incoming. It showed one. This is what saved us. It showed an incoming ICBM from the United States into Russia, but and he was supposed to launch. They're attacking us. I got to launch, but he didn't, because he said something's weird about this. Why would they fire off only one missile?
Yeah, we're not
a barrage. So he hesitated, and then he sees a second one coming on the radar, but he still holds off. He's like, why would they only fire two? And then a third one's coming, and he holds off again. And then finally it turned out it was a computer malfunction. But if he had done what he was supposed to do according to protocol, we wouldn't be here. He would have had to launch, and that would have been it. So I worry about that. That's why I worry about there being so many missiles in the world, is that something could go wrong.
I mean, something could go wrong, but again, there's no real motivation for really anyone unless they're, I guess, actually suicidal.
Right.
And luckily, those people don't have the weapon.
I worry about that too, though. What if you have a religious fanatic who believes that?
Sure, but how are they going to? I mean, it's not easy to get at these weapons.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you decide, you're hearing some deity's voice in your head telling you it's time to wrap this thing up. It's not like
how are you getting down into our where we keep these things?
Yeah, well, I mean, unless you're at the top, though. Like if you're
sure, but that, I think people would probably have a breakdown before that. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, hopefully cooler heads would prevail, and someone would say, "No, you're not really hearing the voice of God."
I mean, if you remember, even obviously there were checks and balances. Obviously, there's a line that people don't cross, because when they were unsure of, and there, for all we know, there's standing orders now. It didn't come out until after the fact, but there were standing orders in the military. The first Trump administration, and maybe it's there now too, like that, if he declares world war, we're not going to follow through with it.
Yeah.
And so, I think that especially your military strategists, it's about pragmatism to them. So, they're not going to do it just to do it.
Right. Well, should we get to the really delicious part about this whole thing? The infighting within MAGA.
Yeah.
Oh, it's getting tense. Now, of course, as I mentioned earlier, none of them ever get upset with Trump, but you can't get upset with Trump, because again, if he says something they don't like, he makes a mistake. Well, that's just, he got bad advice, whatever. They'll always find a way to justify it, but they're getting very angry with each other now.
So
go ahead.
His non-administration people have said some things about him, though. I thought the Breitbart guy, what's his name?
I can't remember.
I don't know.
I almost wanted to say Andrew Breitbart, but he's dead. But no. I know who you mean, but I can't remember his name.
But that guy,
yeah.
Tucker Carlson. I mean, not that these are people of with military might and force, but they are talking heads for the MAGAs.
Yes.
And actually, I don't know. I don't know what is going on. I mean, I don't give this any credence, but not allegedly, but Tucker Carlson came out with a statement saying that all war is deplorable. I don't, what that means, what he meant by that, I don't know, because I don't really believe that this guy suddenly is a humanitarian, but
he did flip on Iraq, because when we were first during when we were first going into Iraq, he supported that. And he later, to his credit, although who knows what motives he might have had, because I don't trust Tucker Carlson at all.
Well, that's my issue, is their motives. The people right now, even the people right now that are, not to get onto another tangent, but just as a quick example, the people that are anti the big, beautiful bill, they're not anti the big, beautiful bill because they support what the left-leaning Democrats and the progressives want. They're, it's not cutting enough for them, or it's not,
right.
Right. So
yeah,
the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but not really my friend. Like,
right. Yeah. And it is important to keep that in mind. I'm glad you
more
said
like
that.
keep your enemies closer, more like that.
But I haven't watched it yet. And apparently it's 2 hours long, but I'm going to see if Jenny wants to watch it with me. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Go ahead and say it.
This epic, apparently it's quite epic. I've only seen clips. Ted Cruz versus Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
And Tucker goes at him Ted Cruz pretty hard. And people seem to generally, at least the left, obviously on the left, everyone despises both of these people, but they seem to be siding with Tucker Carlson in this instance because he's questioning, he's throwing things at Ted Cruz like, do you even know the population? You want to attack this country? Do you even know the population of Iran? And of course, Ted Cruz doesn't, and he doesn't know anything. And Tucker's just burying him, and it's really interesting. The clips that I've seen are really interesting to watch. I got to see the whole thing. Apparently, the whole 2 hours is pretty spellbinding.
yeah. No, that's true. That is true. Because theoretically, Tucker Carlson's a journalist, so I guess he would be more likely to research. Whereas these congressmen, mean, honestly, even the congressmen on our side and the senators, half of them don't research anything. They just talk out of their butts. I don't know what the hell they're. It's like verbal flatulation half the time lately. I mean,
because you don't really have to know anything. You just have to know.
I
mean, you just have to know what your the herd that you're running with, what they want you to think.
Well, I
guess you don't have to know anything.
Well, but now that's the problem with our party is like they've completely they don't have any stands on anything. Which is the other problem. So if he does declare war, what are the Democrats going to do? Are they going to sit on their hands like they've been doing in most cases?
Yes. I have no faith in these people, as you know.
No, I don't either anymore. I always said I wouldn't be one of those people, but I'm starting to become one. I just don't, I can't give continuous get out of jail free cards on the Monopoly board. You know what I mean? Like these people have got to do something, anything. Like just show me you're still alive.
Yes.
I mean, but there's a real movement. I don't think they realize this, but this is also would take some really, research and things of that nature that they don't like to do. Many of them don't like to do. It's not all of them. I mean, I like AOC. As a matter of fact, AOC is really benefiting from this situation because I was sort of on the fence with her a little bit, maybe thinking that oh, I like her, but maybe she's a little bit too pushing of the envelope. She could hurt us in that respect. But now I'm pretty much on board with her. And the rest of them, I'm I mean, because even if she doesn't always say 100% of what I agree with, I don't necessarily put somebody in power because of that. You can disagree with me and I can still respect you as a leader.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, that's we all should be at that point.
Oh yeah. I'm never going to agree with someone on everything.
But I'm saying I still trust her. I trust that her overall integrity and her rationale for why she does what she does and thinks what she thinks comes from a good place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then some of them, I don't know. I mean, like I said, locally, there's some people that we need to have some conversations with. But I don't think they realize how, how you said, we've had some close calls nuclear wise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these people have some close calls of not being in power right now. Mm-hmm. They are more in danger of losing their seats than they think.
Yeah. I wonder if there's, you're more on the ground, as we say, than I am because you're actively involved, whereas I've always taken more of just a outsider commentator role.
I mean, if the progressives could get the numbers, they could throw them out.
But so I'm wondering though, are you sensing that there's an energy or are you sensing that there's a complacency? And by complacency, I mean, maybe the thought that, 26 is coming. We know we're going to have a blue wave because historically that's what happens. You've got a
no, I'm not seeing that at all.
You don't think there's any complacency?
No,
that's good. That's good.
But we do have to be a little careful because and that's why I'm really one of the main reasons, one of my jobs that I'm taking on when I'm out there, I've sort of deputized myself to try to keep them at least even keel. Mm-hmm. Because if you go to the really far left end of the progressives, you're teetering on anarchy and you're teetering on like this group yesterday. Like, there's just no rhyme. I mean, they're just like anything that is anti-American establishment, they were all about. Like,
Yeah.
all at once. They have no, it's like, we don't necessarily have one ideology. We just have every ideology that isn't a democratic republic and
Right.
supporting the evil imperialists of the West.
Yeah.
Like, literally. And, you know, so they kind of scare me too, except they're not in positions of power, thank God. But,
Yeah.
but they, you know, these are the same people that go over, you know, and sell everything they have, fly over, try to join Al Qaeda and get gunned down, or like are calling, you know, the U.S. Embassy to rescue them because it wasn't quite what they thought it would be. They thought they really could talk to these people,
Right.
like they really wanted to be their friends.
Yes.
Why didn't Al Qaeda understand that? They just want to hug them.
Right.
They just want to hug these warlords.
Yes. Yes.
Because warlords love hugs. You know, this is
Sure.
what a mess. I just don't know. I mean, so, you know, I think that a pragmatic progressive would have a good chance.
Okay. But also, so we have to break the, stranglehold that this is an indelicate way
Like
of
what?
putting
Like
it.
where is
that
Schumer's
old
out of
people,
what state is Schumer out of?
New York.
Right. So they very easily could find somebody. I don't know. You know, Schumer only has the like lockstep Democrats at this point supporting him. Maybe he has the party behind him, but does he have the people behind him? I don't think so anymore.
No.
And that's the problem. But so the people could actually, you know, they could lose the popular votes, and there isn't that with the presidency. I mean, is there a no? There's none of that. It's the popular vote, right?
Right.
With Congress and the Senate.
Yeah.
So they could be voted out. They really could.
Yeah, we need to start. You know, the Republicans aren't afraid to primary their own. They did that with the Tea Party movement. They started to primary some of their own establishment. Why can't we do that? Why can't we get rid of Schumer? You know, why is Nancy Pelosi still hanging around? I mean, obviously she's not the speaker anymore, but you know, I mean, we got to get some young people in here.
At least she has like balls. I have to say, like, I don't always agree with what she says, but I do think like she's got conviction. I mean, as far as in that group, I respect Nancy Pelosi the most out of the people in that group.
I do too. I hope no one takes this wrong. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But we got to get some younger people in here because this is,
especially after
what we just went through with Biden.
They're not going to live forever. I mean, what are we going to do? Wait for all our leaders to just die and then we scramble?
Well, I mean, I think that's what that's what was going to happen, right? If Biden hadn't dropped out and if he had managed to win a second term. We'd be waiting for him to die. And I mean, it's absurd. I mean, we've got to get, I don't mean to be ageist, but.
It's not ageist. It's, in a way, it's like I said, I think we said this, maybe our first podcast. You're really doing people a favor to let them retire gracefully. Like,
yes.
I don't know why people want to hang on until the bitter end and they're having like, you know, like mini seizures in front of cameras and, you know, their faculties are failing and they're tripping on themselves and they're falling and injuring themselves and spending more time in the ER than they are in the presidency or in the, you know, the House or Senate. Like, what's the point of that?
Or they're in a presidential debate and they say something like, we finally defeated Medicare or something, you know, that kind of thing.
I mean, the next thing you know, they're going to be pulling oxygen tanks into the damn, you know, behind them. They're going to be those people are going to have those like,
I mean, we can't keep
it's ridiculous. But I guess to be fair, and I'm not going to get into the weeds of this.
Okay.
But I guess to be fair, they said that like our generation didn't do a good job of stepping up. Maybe there's some validity to that. I don't know. Supposedly we spent too much time on our own like personal wealth building and business building and all of that. And we didn't want to run the country because, you know, we realized that you actually can make a much better living not being a politician. But nonetheless, that's not the case anymore. Like, and at some point you have to pass the gauntlet and, you know, they're not going to live forever.
No.
You know, and even if they can live forever on some form of life support, They still can't vote. So like, whatever. It's time. It's time for many of them to move on.
My father said to me in a text message, and I hope he doesn't mind that I repeat this. I don't think that he'll mind, because he's pretty open on social media about all of his opinions, and he and I very much disagree politically on not all things, but most things. But he did say something to me in a text that I thought had some validity to it. And he said he felt that what was happening to Joe Biden you could make a case for elder abuse there.
Yeah,
Because,
I agree.
Yeah.
And they do that. And so it's like, and who are these, like, is it the Electoral College, these metaphysical people that, like, it's like the Wrinkle in Time, like, it's like these people that hang out in white robes and levitate, and they're the ones like making, is that really this random Electoral College? Are they the ones? Is it the infamous DNC people, the party people that we have no idea who exactly all these people are either?
Well, there's some reporting, that suggests in this case specifically, it was Jill and Hunter. And, I guess Jill really liked being first lady. And I guess Hunter really liked having a dad who could give him a pardon. And,
so pardon him and walk away.
Yeah, well, which is what he ended up doing. But
what was Jill's benefit? I don't even get it. I don't understand.
I think she just liked being first lady.
Really?
Seems like a pretty good gig,
I guess. I mean, you're constantly like under the watch of someone.
Yeah.
And you yourself are really, what people don't realize with the presidency is, like, you're really an asset. You're not a human anymore. You're this entity.
Yeah.
And what we protect is the presidency of the United States, not the individual. Therefore, therefore they're like forced to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if, for instance, you're the president and stuff, they would probably literally keep someone on some sort of like, they would probably keep somebody on some sort of like life support type situation or something like that, until they could process the next, the person that was going to take over for them or whatever, the predecessor, if it was necessary,
Yes. By the way, is your dog agreeing with you or disagreeing with you? Is he trying to argue with you, or is he affirming what you're saying?
She's concerned because she doesn't like her room. She's all about having my attention 24/7.
I see. Yes.
So my mother came in to say something, and that, how dare my mom disturb her?
Yes. But look at what,
baby.
The one other example that comes to mind too about elder abuse is Dianne Feinstein. Look at what happened there.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I mean, she was practically in a coma, and they're wheeling her in there to vote. And I don't mean to be. I mean, it's kind of funny the way I said it, I guess.
No, look at who was the guy?
A serious point, though. I mean,
who's the guy in the South that, like, who is that guy? The Republican from the South. What the heck was his name?
Recently, like a current Republican?
No. This guy, like, old is like dirt. He was like, God, what was his name?
Well, there's been quite a few of them that have.
They kept him like in until the bitter end too. Like,
yeah.
What was his name though? He couldn't even like walk in on his own. Like, Strom
Thurmond. Yes. Yep, you're right.
That was a joke. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was rough.
And P.S., how are they like of sound mind to vote on national? Like, they're not capable of making national decisions anymore.
No.
At that point.
I mean, there is the rare exception, I guess. Like Chuck Grassley, I think, is in his 90s now, and he still seems pretty sharp. But he runs multiple times a week too at his age. It's pretty incredible. But
I mean, you have to kind of like strive for that.
Exactly. Yeah. Not everyone can do that, and I respect
Warren
him
Buffett's
for
getting
that.
older too. I mean, Warren Buffett's getting older too, but he now knows to step down. Like, you don't think he's now stepping down from Berkshire Hathaway, and he's going to let his son run the thing, and he's like, I'm not going to wait until like I literally can't even breathe on my own.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, Brian, Brian, I just called you Brian. That's the second week in a row I've done that because I was looking at one of Brian Mackey's comments. I called you Brian on Sunday too, didn't I?
Brian, I guess you're important.
I'm sorry, Todd.
It
is Todd, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, just making sure. Should we, so we've been on for about an hour. Should we wrap this one up? Is there anything we didn't get to that you wanted to touch on, or?
No, I think that, to be determined as far as I'm holding my, I guess, as a conclusion to the original conversation about the Iran situation. I mean, in summation, not my ideal. I don't really want us to go to war, but also if they start to get aggressive and make assumptions that we're already at war with them anyway,
mm-hmm.
I don't think that diplomacy is the answer.
Yeah, especially if they start striking. I mean, they did hit our embassy in Israel, although I don't know that was intentional. I don't know.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, apparently no one was hurt. But yeah, and that often happens in these situations. But
I mean, I think the main thing is going to be like if we start seeing the proxies like firing, and if they're attacking, like, I guess the other problem is too, we have a lot of like people that still are American citizens living in Israel.
Right.
There's a lot of issues.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
But the other thing is too, like if I had a time machine and I would go back in time, we wouldn't be involved at all. But I don't have that time machine. Like I would let the Middle East figure its stuff out on its own, because it's a whole different world, and they have different perspectives and different perceptions, and they think differently. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not chastising them for it.
No.
But as one of my friends said, and I'll leave it at this, just like we would definitely take great offense and certainly pushback if someone tried to establish the United States as an Islamic state. And so therefore, I don't really think we have any business going over there and trying to westernize every Middle Eastern country.
Yeah, no, I agree. Before we wrap up, Todd, do you want to remind people where you're going to be this weekend so people can?
Sure. Again, I will be in the fabulous city of Providence for the Pride Parade, the Pride Festival Parade. It's a whole thing. Sponsoring HRC, the Human Rights Campaign. And so hope to see people there. It'll be a great time.
And of course, you'll be posting on social media some great stuff, I'm sure. And
absolutely.
So if people can't join you in person, they can follow along online.
And I also will have some of my people, my proxies, attending the Portsmouth Pride. So they're going to be getting some footage for me. I've got a photographer going there.
Okay.
He's going to be getting some stuff. And then I've got someone also there representing, our interest at HRC. And like, he's going to be getting members and things of that nature too. So we've got the area covered.
Excellent. Well, good luck this weekend. Be safe, and I'm sure it'll all go very well. Hopefully, there's no ice raids in the middle of your festivities.
the ice raid fetish. Who knows? Maybe it's a new fetish. Like
maybe.
All right, my friend. Take care.
All right, Todd. And by the way, everybody, if you're looking for more information about me, and you can always go to mattconnarton.com. That is my website, and follow me on social media as well. And that's it. Episode 4 of Hanging Left. And thanks, Todd. We'll talk.